So I want to welcome everyone to the League of Women Voters Candidates Forum for the Cass County Sheriff's Office. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. We also work to increase the understanding of major public policy issues. We really want to thank the City of Fargo for allowing us to use the City Commission chambers this evening for the forum. We also want to express our great thanks to the City of Fargo employees who have assisted us in the setup and taping for tonight and all the technical issues. We really appreciate that. The forum is being streamed right now on the City of Fargo's Facebook page, so people can watch it live on there, and then will be posted later to YouTube. And then the League of Women Voters, we will also kind of link to that post on our Facebook page as well. So on behalf of the League, we really want to thank the candidates for coming out tonight. We really appreciate your participation in helping to educate everyone in the community just to be more informed voters. So if you do have a question for the candidates, please grab one of the note cards that's sitting over there on the edge of the table. And when you have completed your question, just bring it up front to me. We already have some great questions lined up for tonight. So as far as the format, each candidate will get 1.5 minutes for their opening statement, and we'll start with Jesse Johnner. And then for questions, basically Mike Jarrah will start with the first question, and then Jesse Johnner will answer the question first, and so back and forth like that. And then we'll give 1.5 minutes for closing statements as well. All right, so with that, Jesse Johnner, if you want to start with your opening statement.
Sure. My name is Jesse Johnner, and I'm seeking election for Cass County Sheriff. I'm currently employed with the Sheriff's Office. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 20 years. I grew up in North Dakota, graduated from Fargo North, attended North Dakota State University, where I received my criminal justice degree. I then applied with the Cass County Sheriff's Office and was hired shortly thereafter. And during my time at the Sheriff's Office, I've had the opportunity to work in several facets of law enforcement. Not only work in them, but also supervise in several facets of law enforcement. I started out in the jail, in the correctional facility. From there, I moved on to the patrol division and worked in patrol for a period of about 5 years. And then I was promoted to detective, and then sergeant, and then finally captain. I currently supervise several different divisions at the Sheriff's Office. I supervise the Special Operations Division, our School Resource Deputies, our Patrol Division, Special Operations, and Patrol. And then I am currently the Assistant Commander of Red River Valley SWAT Team.
All right. And Mike Jarrah.
Yes, I'm also seeking the election of the Cass County Sheriffs. And I grew up in St. Cloud, Minnesota. I went to high school there. From there, I went to Morehead State University. And I graduated there with a double major in criminal justice and sociology. And while at Morehead State, I did receive a scholarship to play football, and I did my 4 years there playing football, and my 4 years of college with a criminal justice and sociology degree. And while I was at Morehead State, I also did my internship with the City of Fargo. It was a law enforcement, or police officer internship with the city. And from there, I took on a job with the Wright County Sheriff's Department in Wright County, Minnesota, which is next to Monticello. And from there, then I came back to Fargo and I took the test to be a police officer here. And at that time, there was 450 people applying for that test. And I was one of the people that was chosen out of that group of 450 people to be hired. And I've been with the City of Fargo for over just about 29 years. In a couple weeks, it'll be 29 years I've been with the City of Fargo at the police department. And during that entire time, I've been on patrol. I haven't really been interested in administrative type work because I like to be out on patrol where the actions is, where the people are, and this sort of thing. Plus, I also have a couple of small businesses that I've ran during that time. And I used my knowledge from the being on patrol and being with people in my businesses.
All right, thank you. So for questions, again, so if you have questions or would like to ask one, you can grab one of the cards there, and we Got a little extra help, so if you have, when you're done with your question, you can hold it up and Mary will come grab it. And then also, just to kind of note too, as we're asking questions throughout the evening, we do often kind of combine some that might be similar, or kind of edit them down as well, if, depending on what we need in order to ask the questions plainly. And I did discuss this with the candidates, but just so the audience is aware as well, the candidates are being timed, and so Carol will hold up the card, so keep an eye out for her red stop card. All right, so Mike Jarrah, the first question is for you. In your current position, what have each of you done to prepare yourselves to lead the largest sheriff's office in the state?
Well, obviously, my years of experience, my education, being on patrol, being out there where the action is you're going to be able to lead the people of Cass County a lot more than someone that's been sitting in an office for the last 20 years. Because in the office, basically, you're just doing paperwork and you're just following up on things. When you're out there with the people where the trouble's at, you're going to be able to lead the county much better because you know what's going on in your community and in your cities out in the county.
All right, thank you. And Jesse Johnner.
Can I get the question one more time, please?
Yes. So in your current position, what have you done to prepare yourself to lead the largest sheriff's office in the state?
Sure. So when I began my employment at the sheriff's office, I knew at some point that I would want to be in a command level position at the sheriff's office and potentially lead the department. So throughout my career, I put myself in different positions where I could gain promotions and gain knowledge in all facets of law enforcement. So as I stated in my previous statement, I worked in the detective area as a sergeant in patrol and corrections. And so through doing all of that, I've gained experience in all facets of law enforcement, which I believe makes me able to lead in all the different areas that we have at the sheriff's office. Besides that, in my current position as captain, I've had an opportunity to command in several critical incidents and through Red River Valley SWAT. So through my critical incident experience, I feel like I'm able to lead the sheriff's office in that type of a role as well. And then finally, with my experience in the correctional division, which is a big portion of the sheriff's office, I feel like I have a good understanding of how our correctional facility operates and what it takes to lead in our correctional facility.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to insert a question here just because many of the questions from the audience, which are very clearly well-informed people, mention your platforms. But maybe for people who are, watching this forum that are not familiar with some of your platform issues, if you could just share some of the issues in your platform that you think are the most important for you. And so, Jesse Johnner, we would start with you.
Sure. So the platforms I'm running on is community and department readiness. And through that, what I feel is really important right now is that we educate our community on how they can be better prepared to handle a critical incident, and also the same with our department. We need to make sure that we're training our personnel to respond appropriately to critical incidents. And so that's one of my platforms. One of my other platforms is transparency. And I feel that as a large agency, we need to be very transparent, both with citizens that we serve and with the media, so that, oftentimes if people aren't educated and we don't have that transparency, they don't really necessarily know why we're doing what we're doing. But through transparency, I think it gives us an opportunity to educate the public on what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. And then last is community relations. I want to build on our community relations because through building on community relations, I feel like we're better prepared to address criminal activity because people living out in the community know what problems they're having in their community, and by us visiting with them, we can better understand those problems and address those problems.
All right, thank you. And Mike Jarrah.
Yes, my platform has always been, we've been going on the opioid crisis, and to get the help that these people that are hooked on not only opioids but alcohol and whatever type of chemical dependency they may have. So when they're in the jail system, once they're out of the jail system or in the jail system, I also want to provide a a counseling type atmosphere for people that would want it. So when they do leave jail, it's not a revolving door where they go out of the jail and they're coming back in because they're committing crimes to get money to get back to their opioid addictions. And by doing that, it'll be big savings to the citizens of Cass County and on the county, of course, because these people won't be coming back into the jail. And once these people do leave the jail, though, we need a support group. And I want to work with all the different agencies that I can get that'll be on board with this to help these people once they leave the correctional facility so they don't come back and we don't have to keep paying for them being in our jail.
All right, thank you. So Mike Jura, the next question comes for you. So somebody did note that the candidates have some similar priorities. Can you tell us about your efforts to address these issues that you have taken prior to running for sheriff? So can you tell us a little bit about with the issues that are in your platform, what are some things that you have already done to try to address these issues? And Mike Jura, we start with you.
I've talked to a few people about about funding, to get some sort of more funding for the jail so we can get these programs implemented within the jail. I've also been talking to a lot of the people in the county. I've been going around to a lot of businesses and individuals, asking them about what they feel are some of the main concerns that they have for the county. And I've been taking all that into consideration. They've spoke about meth houses that have happened in the county and how things weren't handled the way they would like to be handled. And I told them that if I was sheriff, that would definitely be handled, and there would be any type of complaint that they had, such as drug activity going on, it would definitely be handled.
All right, thank you. So Jesse Johnner.
Yep, so the first one that I mentioned, my community and department relations, is there's been several things that we've been working on or that we have in place right now. Currently, we have what's called an adopted community through our agency, where we have our deputies attending city council meetings and emergency responder meetings out in the county. And that is done obviously so that we can open the lines of communication with our first responders out in the community to build those relations. The other thing that I recently implemented in our agency is what I term as contacts. And contacts to me is one of our deputies get out of the vehicle and they actually visit with citizens, provide them with a business card, and ask how, if they're having any problems out in the community, and if there's any ways that we can address those problems and how we can work with them to address the problems. So that's a couple of the things that I've implemented recently just to expand on our community and department relations. And then community preparedness. Since last year, June of 2017, I've been traveling around and working on active shooter response with our local fire departments and EMS units, so that collaboratively we can respond to an active shooter type event or a critical incident, and that all of us would be on the same page as we respond to that, thus increasing response time and potentially saving lives.
All right. So Jesse Johnner, you'll start with our next question, which is, outside of your work duties, how do you contribute to the community?
Sure. There's a couple different things that I do. One is we were actively involved in working with For Love of a Dog. We had fostered a few dogs through that program. We have also adopted a dog. Through my church, I currently sponsor a child that is over in Ethiopia, and she's 17 years old now. I've sponsored her over the last 4 years. I'm recently joined the VFW Auxiliary, and through that program I assist with the honor flight and getting our veterans out to Washington so they can be able to observe the different things that they have attributed to them through their service and country. And I've assisted with numerous benefits and attended benefits in our area, and always willing to assist with those and help individuals.
All right, thank you. And Mike Jarrett, the same question for you.
Well, the same thing would be for me. I, attend the benefits. I go to, I give money to certain organizations that are good for our community, such as United Way, which I was at today, at their chili feed. When my children were in school, I attended many of the functions that the kids were involved in with the schools and different activities such as their sports and fundraising for many different organizations through the school systems. And I contribute to, sporting events and this sort of thing. Morehead State.
All right, thank you. So Mike Jarrett, our next question will start with you. Can you give an example of how you will develop programs to address addiction issues with inmates in jail?
Well, like I said, it's going to be a work in progress because you have to contact different organizations, obviously, and see if they can get on board. And when they're on board, along with their help and the county help, the county staff, we're going to develop programs to help these people with their addiction problems.
All right,
Can I get the
John?
question from you one more time, please?
Yep. Can you give an example of how you would develop programs to address addiction issues with inmates in jail?
Sure. So currently we have several different types of programs in the jail right now that we are currently using to address addiction issues. And as sheriff, I would continue to move in that direction. I feel like they're very good programs right now. And those programs are, we currently have or recently implemented what's called a Vivitrol. And through working with Prairie St. John's and through our correctional staff at the jail, we can identify those individuals who would benefit from getting the Vivitrol shot, which would take away their cravings for opioids. And so when they are released back into the community through doing that program, they wouldn't have the craving to go back to using as soon as they got out of the jail. That's a recent program that we've just started. I feel it's a really good program. It's fiscally responsible because then we don't have people returning back to the jail. So that's an important program. Also, we have a methadone program that's been recently instituted. And through that program, we can continue with people's treatment with addiction to opioids through the jail by the use of identifying certain people in the correctional facility that would benefit from taking methadone. So those programs I feel are very important right now and are contributing to reducing addiction as we return people back into society.
Okay. All right. So Jesse Johnner, our next question starts with you. And the participant in the audience wants to know, is the article in the form representative of your law enforcement career? And what can we expect to see going forward as sheriff?
Guessing that's probably the article, the recent article. Doesn't elaborate on that.
Doesn't just the article in the form.
Yes. And so one of the things that I alluded to earlier, that was my platform, was transparency. And I think that article, it was really good that people were able to look at both candidates and see what type of a work history we've led up to this point. I think that's a good indicator of how we would proceed in the future. And so I think it is representative of my character and how I would be as the Cass County Sheriff. Any mistake that I make in the past or going forward, I would always own up to that mistake, and we would proceed from there and continue on. And so, yeah, I think it is.
Okay. All right. So Mike Jarrett, the same question. Is the article in the form representative of your law enforcement career, and what can we expect to see going forward as sheriff?
Well, yes, it is representative of me. It's after 29 years. The transparency thing is right there. My 29 years with the Fargo Police Department, we document everything you can possibly imagine in there, which you saw in my personnel file. The one thing I had there was an accidental discharge. Well, that's when we were transitioning from our pistols to our semi-automatics. And during that transition period, the guns that we had at that time were state of the art compared to what we had then. And during that time, there was to disassemble a gun, you have to dry fire it, and I had a round in the chamber and the gun went off. We weren't screwing around or anything like that. I had it pointed down and away, the gun went off. The other missing cord, yep, there it is, the transparency is there again. And the radio calls, a person's busy. When you're out on the street and you're doing things, it's happening. It's not like sitting in the office where you're not being called. You don't have 3, 4, 5 different things coming at you at one time. And in my 29 years at the Fargo Police Department, I'm sure I've probably put close to 1 million miles on. And during that whole time, I never backed into a car like my opponent has.
Okay, so Mike Jer, our next question starts with you. What have you done personally to improve your respective agencies?
Could you say it one more time?
Yep. So what have you done personally to improve your respective agencies?
Well, to improve the agency is my education, my years of service with the department, my learning on the job every day. Every day you do something, you're learning something new. And I mean, you can't, that's something that's never taken away from you.
All right, and Jesse Johnner.
Sure. Throughout my experience at the Sheriff's Office and be involved in several different facets of law enforcement, as I had stated a couple times now. The things that I have done to personally improve our department is when I had the opportunity to go to training sergeant, I felt like that was a really good opportunity for me to get the education, become a certified law enforcement instructor, and bring back training to our agency. And by training our personnel and by myself gaining that knowledge, and then also working with Red River Valley SWAT and being involved in critical incidents several times, I felt like bringing that knowledge back to our agency and then training our officers was going to, number one, make it safer for the citizens of Cass County, and it was also going to make it safer for our personnel. And so that is a couple of things that I've done. I've also worked collaboratively with some of our upper administration in receiving or trying to get better equipment for our officers. And that equipment would benefit us, both our officers and the citizens of Cass County again. Some of those pieces of equipment are ballistic items, which we could use to perform officer down rescues, citizen down rescues, and things of that nature. So both by training officers and attempting or getting them equipment, I feel like that is one area where I've really benefited our agency.
Okay, thank you. So for our next question, we would start with Jesse Johnner. What is your position on Measure 3, the North Dakota constitutional amendment that would, or measure that would legalize marijuana?
Sure. So I'm here as a sheriff's candidate tonight. I'm not here to provide my personal opinions. And as the sheriff of Cass County, if that measure passed, I would enforce the law as we needed to, and I would respect what the citizens of North Dakota, how they voted to legalize that. As sheriff, obviously, we enforce the laws of North Dakota and the Constitution, and that's what I would do. So if the voters of North Dakota decide that they would like to legalize marijuana, then I'll follow suit, and we will make adjustments at our agency. We'll need to make some adjustments, and we will make those adjustments and proceed on.
Yep. All right, and Mark Jer.
Oh, I totally agree with Jesse here on that. Whatever the citizens vote in, I would, have to just go with what they would like. But going back to the last question, I'd like to just say on that, he talks about these critical instances all the time. I've been in several, or more than several, critical instances myself. I just haven't been on the SWAT team. And lots of times before the SWAT team gets there, it's way more critical before they get there because everything is moving fast. When they get there, things have slowed down and are a little bit more under control. So when they talk about the SWAT team, yes, it's a great aspect. We couldn't be without it. But the guys out on the street that are there who take the initial charge of that scene, that's a very important role before the SWAT team gets there.
All right, so for our next question, we would begin with Mike Jura. So what is your plan for implementation for some of the issues that you have talked about in your platform? So how do you plan to implement these ideas in your first quarter if you were elected sheriff?
Implement them. Well, first of all, when I become sheriff, I'm going to go there and I'm going to be walking around. I'm going to do like our police chief did here in Fargo. He did a listening. He walked around and listened to all the different departments within the department, and heard the problems and concerns that everybody had. And from that point on, then we would move forward as a team and implement all the different types of programs each person in the jail or the county staff would like to see happen. And through a process of eliminations, which programs we think are better than the others, that's what we drove forward with and try to get.
All right, and Jesse John?
Sure.
the same
And just to
question.
go back and clarify one thing that Mike said, most of my critical incident experience does not come from SWAT. Actually, a lot of majority of it comes from my time working in the flood efforts in Cass County here, as I led those efforts as a forward operations commander. Also during DAPL, I was a forward operations commander during DAPL, and I planned several of the incidents and executed those plans, oftentimes supervising 350 officers before SWAT got there. So I just wanted to make sure that we clarified that. Next, as far as implementing my ideas, I'm not here to tell you what I'm going to do if I get sheriff. I'm already doing the things that I've mentioned that we're doing now. So as a commander at the sheriff's office and captain, I'm constantly involved in as we proceed forward in forward thinking. And so these things aren't going to be things that I do when I get sheriff. They're things I'm doing now.
All right, so Jesse John, our next question begins with you. What do you see as the biggest challenge for the Sheriff's Department?
Right now, there's a couple things that I would like to work on if I become sheriff. I think Sheriff Liney has done an excellent job bringing us to a role model agency at this point, and I want to continue moving forward with what he's built to this point, and we're going to do that. There are some things that I would like to work on going forward, and that is some technology pieces. I think that criminals are starting to use some technology with the dark web and different things like that, which they are using to enhance their criminal activities. So we need to spend more time looking at ways that we can improve our technology to advance how we approach criminal problems. The other thing that I want to make sure that we do is I feel like we could use some additional equipment that I would like to proceed in looking at grants to achieve that equipment. I think that can make us more efficient out on the street. And as I've mentioned a couple times, critical incidents. Right now we don't have a mobile command post, and I think that's one thing that would enhance the safety to our agency and to the citizens of Cass County. Obviously that's an expensive piece of equipment, so we need to also keep in mind taxpayers in Cass County. So I would proceed in trying to get that equipment by looking for grants to get that.
Okay, thank you. So Mike Jura, question again, what do you see as the biggest challenge for the Sheriff's Department?
Well, the biggest challenge, I think, for the Sheriff's Department is recidivism. They can't keep employees at the jail. And the first thing I want to look at is what's the problem? Why are all these people leaving? And because if you can't have consistency in the jail, you're going to have issues in the jail. And what I want consistency there. I want people not leaving, and if they are leaving, I want to know why they're leaving. And if it's a money issue, a scheduling issue, whatever type of issue it is, I want to work on that issue and deal with it so we can keep a good core group of people inside that jail.
All right, so Mike Jura, our next question begins with you. And so I'm trying to think if there's a clever way to link these two questions. So basically one person asked about what current programs does the Cass County Jail offer? And then we had another questioner who wrote about a specific program, the jail chaplains being a growing presence in the jail. And what could you do to enhance the jail chaplain services in the jail? And then if you also want to comment on any other questions, or excuse me, any other programs currently being offered in the jail, we can combine those two questions together. So jail chaplains, how could their services be enhanced, and any other current programs being offered in the jail?
Well, the Jail Chaplains, from what I understand, is a great organization. It's a great program that's working at the jail. It's helped a lot of people from what I've heard. There's also another other support group that helps these people when they leave the jail get back on their feet in the public and gives them housing. And I want to just continue that type of thing and do more of it. And whatever we can do as a county and as a sheriff's department to help any organization that's willing to come in and work with the inmates, I'm more than happy to help them out, whatever we can do.
Okay. All right, Jesse Johnner, same
And
question.
I've already made mention of a few of the programs that we have in there, the methadone and the Vivitrol programs that we have. But on top of that, we have other programs as well that I think, one, which we recently started over the last month, that is very fiscally responsible to the taxpayers of Cass County, and that's called our Community Supervision Program, and that's taken place of work release. And basically what that program is it allows those individuals who are sentenced and then now recently pretrial, where those individuals, rather than being housed in the jail, they can be housed out in the community. And our deputies at the jail go out and check on them and make sure that they're following all protocols that they need to follow to stay on the program. But by keeping them out of the jail and in the community and contributing to the community, it reduces our costs in the jail. One other thing that we're currently exploring right now, we have a pilot program that is working with one of the local trade schools in town here. And what that does is we can, if individuals who are looking to return to returning citizens are looking to return out of the jail back into society, they can, through this program, potentially pick up a trade so that once they get out, they can immediately look for a job and contribute to society. So.
All right, thank you. Are there any other audience members that have questions for the candidates tonight? Any that were prepared and written down? Okay, all right. Sure, can we get it on a card, please? Hoping it was ready. Well, as we're waiting on our last question here, which we do have time for probably about 2 more, and then we'll do closing statements if the audience has any more. I'll just give a little bit more information about the League of Women Voters. So this is, to my count, our 7th candidates forum between North Dakota and Minnesota this election season. We have 2 more coming up. Tomorrow will be our last one on the North Dakota side, which will be the legislative races, the state legislative races for districts 27 and 41. And then in Moorhead, we have the school board race on Thursday. And that is the last one of the season. And so we really want to thank all of the participants that have come to every one of our forums over the season. We really appreciate the participation from the community and all of everybody's help as well in organizing these. And we also offer events. Every first Friday of the month, we pick a topic that we kind of talk about, and just to try to help address different issues and educate the public. So our next one is going to be November 2nd at noon, from noon to 1 at the Sons of Norway, and we have a speaker lined up to talk more about polling. So even tonight, our candidates have mentioned, polls seen in the forum or other places. So he's going to be talking about, like, where does that information come from? How do we know that these things are accurate? What is some of the science behind that? So that's going to be November 2nd from noon to 1 at the Sons of Norway. Also, of course, November 6th is Election Day. So just a reminder, please vote, everyone. If you need more information on how to vote, what you need to bring with you to vote, where you go to vote, you can contact your county auditor. Okay. Okay. So I'm trying to, again, actually these 2 questions are related to the same issue, so I'm trying to maybe figure out a way to combine these. And it looks like, Jesse Johnner, we would start with you. So they're both kind of related to the turnover in the jail. So, and I know, Mike Jarrah, you were the one that brought that up, and which makes us with Jesse Johnner, you're starting the question. But if you maybe even just want to talk about, as an employee of the jail, your experience there, and however you want to take that. And then Mike Jera, the question was kind of more about if you have any belief on maybe the cause of the turnover, or maybe how you could, yeah, that's it, what you believe the cause might be. So Jesse Johnner, if you want to comment on maybe your experience there, or how you would even continue, maybe what has been a good experience for you, and then Mike Jera to the question of if you have any belief on the cause of the turnover in the jail that you had commented about.
Sure. So we do have some turnover in the jail. As most people know, working in a correctional facility is a tough job. You're locked in the facility, and in our case, for 12 hours. We work 12-hour shifts. So you're locked in that facility for 12 hours. And it's a tough job. You're in there with a lot of different personalities. And so yeah, I think some of our people leaving is attributed to a few different things. Number one is I think that we have a good training program at the Sheriff's Office. And so I think that other agencies look to our agency, and we have a lot of people that leave our agency and go work at other agencies. So I think that's attributed to part of our people leaving is our training and the type of quality personnel that we have at our facility. One thing that we've recently implemented to try to keep people at our facility longer is we have actually raised the pay and opened up a few assignments or a few opportunities where people can, if they're a licensed law enforcement officer, work at a B32 level, which is the same pay grade as our patrol staff that's out on the street. So that's recently happened, and since we've implemented that, our turnover has dropped. And so, you know, we would continue with that type of a program and those type of opportunities. So I feel, you know, moving forward, like you said, I think that we would continue with that, and we'll always continue to look for ways that we can retain employees. But it's not just with our agency; it's with all agencies. All agencies right now are struggling in getting personnel to you know, to locate good personnel to work at their agencies.
Okay, thank you. And Mike Jera.
Yes, just going back to the last question about the programs in the jail, about the different types of counseling and this sort of thing. I wouldn't ever be taking any programs away from the jail. I'd be adding to the jail as far as helping our inmates. And as far as retaining staff in the jail, I'm sure there's a number of things of why people are coming and going there like they are, but I'm sure one is pay. Another I'm assuming is scheduling. If they're working 12-hour shifts, maybe that'd be something to look at. Maybe we'll bring it down to 10-hour shifts or whatever we can do to help these people out, because everyone that works in the jail has a family. And if they want to go to their kids' sporting event or their kids' musical event or some just go out with their family for the night, if we can somehow change these schedules and have people work with each other so people can enjoy their time with their family, I'm more than willing to work scheduling however we can do it to keep people in the jail and to keep our number one, people are our employees, and we want to keep them happy and have a good relationship at their home.
All right, so it's time for our closing statements. So Mike Jera, we will start with you. You have a minute and a half for closing statements.
Okay, I guess my closing statement would be Jesse Johnner has been at the Sheriff's Department, I guess, just about 20 years. He's talked about all these different things he wants to do now as the sheriff opening became available. And I guess my question to him is, what has he done over the last 20 years? Why hasn't he been working on this whole time? As far as I know, once the sheriff election came out, all of a sudden he came to the top and he wants to do all these things where he hasn't done any of this in the past. And then he talks about being this Sergeant of the Year in 2017. What happened to the other 18 years? Was he a Sergeant of, Sergeant of the Year then? I thought it was just kind of strange how this all came about when the election's coming around.
Okay, and Jesse Johnner, your closing
Yes,
statement.
I'd like to thank everyone for being here today, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this this opportunity. So, my thing is that I'm going to concentrate on is what is Jesse Johnner going to do for the citizens of Cass County and as Sheriff of Cass County. And I think everyone here tonight has heard through my experience and my training what I bring to the table. and what I could bring to the table as sheriff of Cass County. We have a large area here that we patrol, 1,768 square miles. We have a large population. We're the biggest sheriff's agency in Cass County, or in North Dakota, excuse me. And as the biggest agency, we need to be forward-thinking, and we need to think of ways that we can curb criminal activity and ways that we can better serve the citizens of Cass County. As your Cass County Sheriff, I will strengthen law enforcement, community relations, work with others to bring our communities and emergency preparedness to a higher level, and we'll continue to strengthen our relations with other departments. So I'm asking for your vote on November 6th to vote for Jesse Johnner as Cass County Sheriff.
All right, thank you. We really want to give a big round of applause and thank you to both of the candidates for participating tonight, and really just to helping to strengthen our democracy, to help educate voters. It is the prime mission of the league, so we really appreciate your time and effort in taking part in this. So that is it for tonight. Our next forum, like I said, is going to be tomorrow. It starts at 5:45. For those legislative districts. If you do have any further questions, hopefully the candidates can stick around for a minute if you have any additional questions that you would like to ask. And I also want to thank the audience tonight for providing us with some really great questions for our sheriff's candidates. So thank you everyone for participating. And also the link, we will post it to the League of Women Voters Facebook page if you want to share it to all of your friends and family as well. Thank you.